Good morning, someone. The Bible is the history book from which I give information. If you do not have a history book, then just listen to me and I will tell you what is on page 1453 in my history book. I have my history book, the Bible. The Bible is the history book I have in front of me. And I'm on page 1453. And at the top of the page, Jesus, if you're not familiar with Jesus, then get familiar with Jesus. If you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the history book, you will become familiar with Jesus. Now, there is a lot of more history, and you can learn about a lot of people before you learn about Jesus in the history book. But I'm on page 1453, and this is where Jesus is, and Jesus is speaking. And he said to them, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." Could I say, would it be all right if I told you in the United States, render to Donald Trump the things, that are his, since Donald Trump is the president. Caesar in Jesus' day was not the president. They didn't have presidents when Jesus was talking here. But they did have Caesar, and Caesar was in charge of some things. And Jesus just made it clear, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And some more people showed up. And they talk about Moses and what Moses wrote. This is on page 1453. Because Moses had written. And it says, if a man's brother dies and leaves behind a wife and leaves no child, his brother should take the wife and raise up offspring to his brother. That's what Moses had written. That's what they had read. And I read it this morning from page 1453. And they go on and said there were 7 brothers who took a wife. There were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died, leaving no offspring. In other words, maybe it was the first and the oldest one. He took a wife, had no offspring. Now Moses has given commandment of what to do. And the second one took her and he died. No offspring. And the third likewise. And there were 7 brothers, and all 7 had her, and all 7 left no offspring, and the woman died. Folks, what is the big deal here? They did what Moses said do. The woman had no child, and she died. It happens. I guess it happened. I don't know. They made the thing up. I really don't know. But it's on page 1453 right here in front of me. And they said, in the resurrection, when they rise again, which one's wife will she be? For all 7 had her as wife. Now that might be a legitimate question. It might be. But coming from somebody that doesn't even believe there's going to be a resurrection. But Jesus, as nice as he is going to respond to them after hearing their question. And Jesus says, is this not the reason you are mistaken? That you do not understand the scriptures or the power of God. And today, people do not understand the scriptures or the power of God. For Jesus is going to make it known right here what's going to happen. Because if you have read the history book, the man that's talking here is crucified and raised from the dead. He hasn't been dead. He hasn't been raised from the dead. But he is teaching these people and dealing with their question. And he said, regarding the fact that the dead rise again, have you not read the book of Moses about the burning bush? Now, some of you may have read and know about the burning bush. Jesus had read and he knew about the burning bush. How God spoke to him. Now, I'm sure that Jesus is not mistaken here. He said God spoke to Moses, saying, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's what God said. And Jesus goes on and says, he is not the God of the dead, but of the living. You are greatly mistaken. Yes, there's no doubt. Page 1453 in my history book has some very good information on it. The very next line, Jesus makes some more statements concerning God. If you want to find out what Jesus said about God, you can wait for my next video or get you a Bible and read. For yourself. Someone may have seen this, and I hope that you enjoyed it when you saw it.